Hello, and today I will be showing you the evolution of Nintendo consoles from the Game & Watch, to the Game Boy, to the Nintendo DS, to the Nintendo Switch, and many more consoles. In 1977, Nintendo released their first ever gaming console, the Color TV game. The console only had games of Pong on it in 6 different variations: hockey, tennis, football, and more. Around 1 million were sold. In 1980, the Game & Watch released. It was a console where you could play games and look at the time. There are multiple versions of this console, each with a different game on it, as one console had only one game. It sold around 43.4 million units. In 1983, the Nintendo Entertainment System, NES for short, was released. It had 8-bit games and was the first console with popular games like Super Mario Bros. And The Legend of Zelda. Nintendo sold 61.91 million units of this console, and the processor was at least 10 times more powerful than the Game & Watch. In 1989, Nintendo released their Game Boy. You could play The Legend of Zelda, Tetris, Mario, Donkey Kong, and many more by swapping out physical cartridges on the back of the device. Nintendo then sold 118.69 million units of the original Game Boy, and it was at least 20 times more powerful than the Game & Watch. In 1990 was the release of the SNES, Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It was a 16-bit console, and you could play games like Super Mario World and Donkey Kong Country on it. They sold only around 49.1 million units, and the processor would be at least 100 times more powerful than the Game & Watch. In 1995 was the release of Virtual Boy. It was a virtual reality headset which stood up on 2 legs and was 32 bits. You could play games like Mario, Mario Tennis, Space Pinball, and more. Only around 770,000 units of this were sold worldwide, making it one of Nintendo's biggest failures, and would be at least 500 times more powerful than the Game & Watch. In 1996 was the release of a Nintendo 64. It was 64 bits and introduced 3D gaming and an analog stick. It hosted iconic titles like Super Mario 64 and The Legend of Zelda, and around 32.93 million units of this were sold, and it was about 187,000 times more powerful than the Game & Watch. In 1998 was the Game Boy Color. It was an upgraded Game Boy with a color screen, compatible with original Game Boy games. This console was an 8-bit console, and around 118.69 million units were sold, and it was about 16,000 times more powerful than the Game & Watch in terms of the processor. In 2001 was the release of the GameCube. It was a compact console using mini discs, known for its multiplayer-friendly design and games like Super Smash Bros. It was a 128-bit console and sold around 21.74 million units, and it was about 970,000 times more powerful than the Game & Watch. Also in 2001 was the release of the Game Boy Advance. It was a powerful handheld console with a wide library of games, including remakes of SNES classics. It was 32 bits and sold approximately 81.51 million units, and was about 33,560 times more powerful than the Game & Watch in terms of the processor. In 2004 was the release of the Nintendo DS. It was a dual-screen handheld with a touchscreen, enabling innovative gameplay. It became one of the best-selling consoles of all time. It was 32 bits and sold 154.02 million units, and was around 134,000 times more powerful than a Game & Watch. In 2006 was the release of the Wii. It was a revolutionized gaming with motion controls, making it accessible to a broader audience. Wii Sports became a cultural phenomenon. It sold around 101.63 million units, and it was around 1,458,000 times more powerful than a Game & Watch in terms of the processor. In 2011 was the Nintendo 3DS. It was a handheld console with glasses-free 3D capabilities, offering a unique gaming experience. It is a 32-bit console. It sold 75.94 million units, and was about 536,000 times more powerful than the Game & Watch. In 2012 was the release of the Wii U. It was a console with a tablet-like controller, allowing for dual-screen gameplay. It struggled commercially, but laid the groundwork for the Switch. 13.56 million units were sold, and it was 2,480,000 times more powerful than the Game & Watch in terms of the processor. In 2017 was the Nintendo Switch. It was a hybrid console that can be used as both a handheld and a home console. It became a massive success with games like The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Fortnite, Mario, and many more games. 150.86 million units were sold, it was 3,500,000 times more powerful than the Game & Watch. In 2019 was the release of the Nintendo Switch Lite. It was a portable-only version of the Switch designed for on-the-go gaming. It sold 20.4 million units and at around 3,500,000 times more powerful than the Game & Watch. In 2021 was the release of the Nintendo Switch OLED. It is an upgraded version of the classic Nintendo Switch and sold about 9.32 million units and was 3,500,000 times more powerful than the Game & Watch in terms of the processor. Same as the class Switch and Switch Lite. I hope you guys enjoyed the evolution of most Nintendo consoles and comment if I missed any, and if there was any false information in this video, and the list of Nintendo consoles will grow as the Nintendo Switch 2 release is later in 2025. I'll catch you on the flip side.